Barney Miller is an American situation comedy television series set in a New York City police station in Greenwich Village. The series originally was broadcast from January 23, 1975, to May 20, 1982, on ABC. It was created by Danny Arnold and Theodore J. Flicker. Noam Pitlik directed the majority of the episodes. Premise: Barney Miller takes place almost entirely within the confines of the detective's squad room and Captain Barney Miller's adjoining office of New York City's fictional 12th Precinct, located in Greenwich Village. A typical episode would feature the detectives of the 12th bringing in several complainants and/or suspects to the squad room. Usually, 2 or 3 separate subplots are in a given episode, with different officers dealing with different crimes. Once a year, an episode would feature one or more of the detectives outside of the walls of the precinct, either on a stakeout or at one of their homes. Primary characters: Captain Barney Miller is the sensible captain of the precinct who tries to retain his sanity while dealing with the foibles of his staff and the unending stream of budget problems and paperwork that make up his job. Sergeant Philip K. Fish is the senior detective on the squad. A crotchety, world-weary, and nearing retirement Jewish-American cop, he always seems to be suffering through some physical ailment, but his years of experience as a police officer make him a very good detective and mentor to other members of his squad. Frequently, he is on the phone dealing with a minor marital crisis with his wife Bernice. Debt. Stanley Thaddeus Wojciechowicz is the naive, gung-ho but good-hearted Polish-American, who gradually transforms from a macho former Marine into a sensitive character who tries to see things from a decidedly humanitarian point of view, while performing his duties as a detective. He takes and fails the sergeant's examination 7 times, but finally passes on his 8th try and gets promoted in Season 4. Sergeant Ron Nathan Harris is an ambitious, intellectual African-American, who lives well beyond his means, and who frequently seems more preoccupied with his attire and his career as a writer than with his police work. A long-running plotline about his various attempts to establish a writing career eventually has Harris emerge as a published author, with his lurid memoir Blood on the Badge. Sergeant Nick Umena is a realistically philosophical, wisecracking Japanese-American detective. He is noted for his off-the-wall sense of humor and wry observations about life, as well as for his gambling habits, extraordinarily poor paperwork filing skills, and for making extremely bad coffee for the other members of the squad. Sergeant Miguel Chano Emanuel is a dauntless, beleaguered Puerto Rican detective, who is very emotionally attached to his job. Debt. Arthur Dietrich is an intellectual detective with a calm, unflappable nature and a seemingly endless supply of knowledge on a wide array of subjects. Deputy Inspector Frank Luger is Miller's rambling, out of touch, and unapologetic old-school superior who frequently drops by the precinct to chat with Barney. Officer Carl Levitt is a diminutive and obsequious uniformed officer who constantly, passive-aggressively badgers Miller about being promoted to detective. Elizabeth Miller, Barney's wife, a dedicated social worker. Intended to be a regular character, and listed in the opening credits during Seasons 1 and 2, Liz is seen fairly infrequently. She is, however, often referred to, and Barney is often seen on the phone with her. The show's focus was split between the detectives' interactions with each other and with the suspects and witnesses they detained, processed, and interviewed. Some typical conflicts and long-running plotlines included Miller's frustration with red tape and paperwork, his constant efforts to maintain peace, order, and discipline, and his numerous failed attempts to get a promotion. Harris's preoccupation with outside interests, such as his living arrangements but mainly his novel, and his inability to remain focused on his police work. Fish's age-related health issues, marital problems, and reluctance to retire. Wojciechowicz's impulsive behavior and love life. Luger's nostalgia for the old days with partners Foster, Kleiner, and Brownie Brown. Levitt's quest to become a detective. The rivalry between the precinct's resident intellectuals, Harris and Dietrich, and continually but reliably bad coffee, usually made by Umena. Cast, regulars, recurring characters, other officers and staff, Murdoch, Gorman, Dullagan, and Labor all made guest appearances in other roles in addition to their regularly recurring series roles. Barney Miller had a stock company of character actors who made frequent appearances in different roles, among them Kay Medford, Bruce Kirby, Kenneth Tigard, Don Carfer, Walter Janowitz, Peggy Pope, Nehemiah Pissoff, Rosanna Soto, Todd Sussman, Leonard Stone, Philip Sterling, Sal Viscaso, Rod Colbin, Martin Garner, and Jack Russian. Some of these players later appeared as similarly quirky characters in writer-producer Arnold Weege's situation comedy Night Court. 12th Precinct regulars. The 12th Precinct had a number of regular complainants, habitual copywriters of the holding cell, or other people who often dropped by. Characters seen on 3 or more episodes included, a Eurocast in several different roles over the series run. Fish's family. Fish's wife Bernice made an appearance from time to time in seasons 1 to 4. In seasons 1, 3 and 4 she was played by Florence Stanley. In Bernice's only season 2 appearance she was portrayed by Doris Black. In that episode, Fish also had a grown daughter named Beverly played by Emily Levine. Also seen as recurring characters in season 3 were group home children Jilly and Victor, who would eventually become Fish's foster children. In 1977, the Fishes were spun off into their own show, Fish. Barney's family. In addition to Barney's wife Liz, Barney's son David and daughter Rachel appeared in the pilot. Barney's children were written out of the show after the first episode, while his wife made appearances through the second season. Wyndham also reprised her role in 2 later episodes. Pilot. The series was born out of an unsold television pilot, The Life and Times of Captain Barney Miller, that aired on August 22, 1974 as part of an ABC summer anthology series, Just for Laughs. Lyndon and Vigoda were cast in their series roles. No other eventual cast members were present. Abby Dalton played Barney Miller's wife, Liz, while Val Bisoglio, Rod Perry, and a pre-Hill Street Blues Charles Hayde rounded out the cast of the pilot. Guest stars included Mike Moore, Choo Choo Mulave, Henry Beckman, Buddy Lester, Michael Tessier, Mike Moore and Ann Wyndham. The pilot script was later largely reused in the debut episode Ramon, with Bisoglio's lines being given to Umena and Chano in the debut episode version of the script, and Hayde's character of Kaczynski was a precursor to Wodji Owaj. Rod Perry's character, Sergeant Wilson, was replaced by Harris in the final series, but Wilson would reappear one more time in the first season episode Experience in place of Harris, before disappearing from the series entirely. The entire guest cast, with the exception of Henry Beckman, whose character of Uncle Charlie, was written out entirely of the debut episode, and Abby Dalton who was replaced by Barbara Barry in the final series, would reprise their roles in the debut episode. Unlike the remainder of the series, the pilot was shot on film at CBS Studio Center, where the sets of the 12th Precinct and the Miller apartment were originally built. When the regular series went into production in late 1974, the series went to being recorded videotape, and the sets were moved to the ABC Television Center in Hollywood, where they remained until production ended on the series in 1982. The pilot was never broadcast in syndication as part of the series' syndication package and was released in 2011 as part of Shout Factory's complete series set on DVD. Opening theme. The distinctive opening notes of the bass line of Jack Elliott and Alan Ferguson's theme music, performed by studio musician Chuck Berghofer, are played over a shot of the New York skyline as seen from the water of Upper New York Bay from Season 2 on, with a garbage barge being towed in the foreground of Lower Manhattan followed by shots of the characters. Several slightly different versions of the theme featuring minor variations in composition and performance were used during different seasons. The closing credits featured a different shot of the skyline. Production of Barney Miller deliberately resembled a theatrical one-act play. Scenes rarely strayed from the precinct station's scudroom, with its prominent open-barred holding cell, and Miller's adjoining office. Characters came and went, but always within the confines of the precinct. Barney Miller tended to obey 2 of the 3 classical unities of drama, unity of place and unity of time. The third unity, unity of action, was not followed, since each episode had multiple subplots. Barney Miller was notorious for its marathon taping sessions. Early seasons were recorded before a live studio audience and used a laugh track for sweetening reactions during post-production. Creator and executive producer Danny Arnold would then rewrite and restage entire scenes after the audience departed, actively looking for quieter, subtler moments that would not play well before a crowd. A taping session that began in the afternoon or early evening would then continue into the early morning hours. Max Gale referred to this in the Jack Sue retrospective episode aired on May 17, 1979, remarking that one of the clips shown was a scene that we finished around 2:30 in the morning. In a 1977 blooper, a crew member mentions it being 3:15 a.m. Writer Tom Reeder described working on the show. Danny Arnold was the creator of the show, and especially in the early years, he was a marvel. When he was on, he could spin out entire scenes, ad-libbing dialogue and great jokes for every character. By the time those scenes got to script form, though, he obsessively rewrote them. That's true of a lot of showrunners, but Danny couldn't seem to stop himself. Sometime during season 2 the show was no longer taped in front of an audience, partly because the script was rarely done by show night. When one season began, 6 pages were in print. Not 6 scripts, 6 pages of one script. This meant that on the day the show was taped, the actors would hang around on the stage, waiting for pages to be sent down. Then sometimes at 2 a.m. They would have to learn new scenes. Ron Carey would get his fairly quickly, "Here's your mail, Captain." On the other hand, poor Steve Landesberg might have to memorize long speeches explaining how nuclear fission works. In the early years, Danny benefited from the heroic writing efforts of Chris Hayward, who was a veteran writer, and rookies Tony Sheehan and Reynold Weege who, like me, didn't know any better. They were the Barney Miller writing staff. My agent wisely turned down Danny's annual offers of staff jobs, negotiating freelance assignments for me instead. Even so, the pace was frantic. On one assignment I was given 3 hours to write the story outline. On another occasion, a friend came into my office at ABC Vine Street and said, "Hey, Reader, want to go get some lunch?" I pointed to the paper in my typewriter and said, "This script is on the stage, thanks anyway." Employing a live audience became impractical as lengthy reshoots became commonplace. By season 4, only a quiet laugh track was used when necessary. Marty and Daryl were among the earliest recurring gay characters on American television. Danny Arnold worked closely with the Gay Media Task Force, an activist group that worked on LGBT representation in media, in developing the characters. Initially both characters were presented in a stereotypically effeminate manner, but in later appearances Daryl began dressing and speaking in a more mainstream fashion. Officer Zeitele's coming out was the first gay story arc on American television, occurring across the series' 6th and 7th seasons. The series took a while to become a hit, but ABC supported it anyway. Danny Arnold ended production of Barney Miller in 1982 after 8 seasons for fear of repeating storylines. The show was not cancelled by the network. Police officer reception: Barney Miller retains a devoted following among real-life police officers, who appreciate the show's emphasis on dialogue and believably quirky characters, and its low-key portrayal of cops going about their jobs. In an 2005 op-ed for the New York Times, real-life New York police detective Lucas Miller wrote, "Real cops are not usually fans of cop shows. Many police officers maintain that the most realistic police show in the history of television was the sitcom Barney Miller. The action was mostly off-screen, the squad room the only set, and the guys were a motley bunch of character actors who were in no danger of being picked for the NYPD pin-up calendar. But they worked hard, made jokes, got hurt and answered to their straight-man commander. For real detectives, most of the action does happen off-screen, and we spend a lot of time back in the squad room writing reports about it. Like Barney Miller's squad, we crack jokes at one another, at the cases that come in, and at the crazy suspect locked in the holding cell 6 feet from the new guy's desk. Life really is more like Barney Miller than NYPD Blue, but our jokes aren't nearly as funny." Similarly, during his appearance on Jon Favreau's independent film channel talk show Dinner for Five, Dennis Farina, who worked as a Chicago policeman before turning to acting, called Barney Miller the most realistic cop show ever seen on television. Awards and honors. Barney Miller won a DGA award from the Directors Guild of America in 1981. The series won a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Comedy Series in 1982, after it ended. It received 6 other nominations in that category, from 1976 to 1981. The series won Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Writing in a Comedy Series in 1980, Outstanding Directing in a Comedy or Comedy Variety or Music Series in 1979, and was nominated for a number of others. It won Golden Globe Awards for Best Television Comedy or Musical Series in 1976 and 1977, and won a Peabody Award in 1978. DVD releases. Sony Pictures Home Entertainment has released the first 3 seasons of Barney Miller on DVD in Region 1. Season 1 was released on January 20, 2004, to slow sales, and Sony decided not to release any more seasons. However, the decision was later reversed and Season 2 was released in 2008, followed by Season 3 in 2009. Shout! Factory acquired the rights to the series in 2011 and subsequently released a complete series set on October 25, 2011. The 25-disc set features all 168 episodes of the series as well as bonus features in the first season of the Abe Vigoda spin-off, Fish. In 2014, Shout! Began releasing individual season sets. Season 4 was released on January 7, 2014 and Season 5 on May 13, 2014. Season 6 will be released on December 9, 2014. Season 1 was released on DVD in Region 4 on December 20, 2006. Notes. References, Capsuto, Stephen. Alternate channels, The Uncensored Story of Gay and Lesbian Images on Radio and Television. Ballantine Books. ISBN 0-345-41243-5. External links, Barney Miller at the Internet Movie Database, The Life and Times of Captain Barney Miller at the Internet Movie Database, TV.com, Barney Miller, The Barney Miller Homepage, Sitcoms Online, Barney Miller.